And we are live. Hello and welcome to another episode of Maddie Allen Live. I'm your host, Maddie Allen, with special guest Bitfinesse.
It's great to be back.
I love the hat that you're wearing. Some people will be able to read it. Bring your heroes here to die.
There's a Puerto Rican flag on this side
Oh, cool.
and an American flag on this side. They'll both be blacked out for the next, when the hat gets updated. It's a work in progress. You gotta roll with the punches.
Very cool. Yes, very nice prototype. And we've asked you here today because you're a huge proponent of people not holding their own money and of things being centralized. And we wanted to make sure to promote that. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Middlemen suck. They suck in varying degrees.
Oh, wait, I said that backwards. You're here to speak against middlemen. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, everybody is going to try to get your money into their hands. It's just human nature.
It's very profitable
So
to do so.
it's extremely profitable. Um, I've you, there's a way to rob people, and then there's a way to rob people, and there's a respectable way to do it, and then there's a scumbag way to do it.
Yeah. And we've seen it all. So we're here to report on all of this and more. I'm going to do a 30-second intro video and then we'll get down to it.
Excellent.
Thank you, Naz Hex, for the 200 bits of cheers. I appreciate it. And so we got quite a show for you today here with Bitfinesse, who's the ender of middlemen and a strong proponent of a little thing we call hex.
Look, I would love to tell you that there's a bunch of different options for you to put your money, to grow your money. If you make dollars, you're well aware that you have to grow your money. And there's a lot of options out there, a lot of really good options. Not psych. There's not, there's
Ah!
only, there's
Almost fell
nothing.
for it.
There's nothing out there. There is this thing called Hex that happens to be a cryptocurrency. I don't do cryptocurrency myself. I think it's more dangerous than legacy. But there's this thing called Hex that happens to be a cryptocurrency that once you get into Hex, there's no more middlemen for you to worry about. Getting in from fiat, getting out, that's a whole different story. You're going to deal with middlemen. Hopefully, we can help you do that safely with protection in a way that minimizes the personal risk you have to take on to get into the greatest project in the world for growing and keeping your money safe.
Because we don't want you to buy Hex. We want to buy it for ourselves. But if you're gonna buy it, we don't want you to get it stolen from somebody and then they dump it on our heads, or on your heads or whoever's heads it's being dumped on. So we want good people in this project. And so if you're a terrible person, go ahead and go watch a Bitcoin stream or something and find out about how Bitcoin is able to morph from a decentralized cryptocurrency to a Fed coin. The more it gets centralized by exchanges and the like.
If you're a scumbag, I hear Doge is doing great. Look into it.
That's right. Yeah. And, might as well buy a few things that have a PE ratio over 1,000 while you're at it.
Why not 10,000?
Sure. So we've got so you and I talked for what, like 2 hours, 5 hours last night on this new platform that I'm beta testing, which is the clubhouse of Twitter called Spaces. And it was only recorded by Twitter. So unfortunately, the Hex community can't hear it now that it's over. But it's one of those live events that you have to FOMO into by, I don't know, I guess like turning on your notifications for me on Twitter, but then you're going to get annoyed every time I like retweet something. So I'm not really sure what the best solution is there, but
I don't get annoyed by how often you tweet. You tweet other people's stuff too. And
yes.
I have your tweet notifications turned on. So I get an
Wow.
email and a Twitter notification
Ooh,
every time you tweet something.
very
But
cool.
there's an exception here.
Okay.
You tend to tweet and stream and put out very dense content.
Oh.
So the Richard Hart calls this the signal to noise ratio. There's a
Uh-huh.
very high signal to your tweets and your streams. So
Oh,
anytime I get
okay.
a notification from Maddie Allin, it's I haven't been annoyed yet. I'll say that. It's
Ah,
far from annoying.
okay. I'll try to do better at annoying you, but
Bring
um,
it.
so far, well, and it's like Richard, of course, the founder of Hex. He's out here promoting people being higher signal to noise, and that's something that usually fades away very quickly when it's found. I remember when MySpace first came out, and there's a bunch of cool people on there, and and then all of a sudden there wasn't. So
Yeah, yeah, that was wild. I remember MySpace. Maybe is MySpace up for sale? Can someone buy MySpace?
I'm putting my money in Hex right now, but
Yeah,
I'll
me
buy it
too.
on the cheap in about 15 years.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that.
So we did cover a lot, and I'm a little bit wary of this format, this clubhouse format of being live and not recording anything, because pretty much that's how I kept track of not repeating myself. Was like, oh, I've said this. If I said it, I said it live because pretty much all my conversations happen live. And
Nice.
so now I have to try to keep track of like, all right, what's all the stuff I said last night for 5 hours, and then I can try to repeat it for everybody who wants to know. But we talked a lot about a lot of things. We kept coming back to the layer 2 stuff that is smells a lot like Middlemen.
It stinks.
But you don't approve of that kind of stuff.
Well, I recognize there are going to be middlemen in the world. You can't, can you? Right now, they exist, and they're going to keep popping up. But if the only thing you can do is identify them, then that's better than not identifying them. The worst case scenario is to be dealing with a middleman and you don't know it. That's the worst, because then you don't know that you're going to be eaten. You have to know that the thing you're interacting with wants to eat you. You have to assume that, first off. In finance,
It's
in
a Doge
crypto,
eat Doge world out there.
it's a Doge eat Doge. If you don't watch your back, you're going to get eaten. Your money's going to get taken from you. It's going to be in the hands of someone else who will appreciate it more than you have because you've already earned it. You've already worked for it. Richard Hart talks about this. He said scammers are going to work harder for your money than you will to keep it. That
Yeah.
couldn't be further from the truth. That is such a big deal. So when middlemen come into the space, it's not offensive. It's not surprising because everyone who came from legacy finance into crypto we all ran into more middlemen than we were dealing with before.
Yes.
I don't think any of the hexagons were surprised by this. I also don't think any of the older hexagons are looking at things like HexBay and thinking, "Oh, this is only good. This only has positive benefits, positive ramifications. How could this possibly be bad?" There's an audit
Yeah.
involved, and so I'm sensing tactics that middlemen have deployed since the beginning of time. Um, yeah, Coin Fabric is involved in the audit, but we don't know any of the parameters around the audit. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't, but we know from listening to Dev Kyle that you can't just give your smart contract or any project to an auditor and say, "Here, audit this and tell me good, yes or no." That's not how it works. And Kyle outlined that. He outlined that beautifully. You have to tell the developer, you have to tell the auditors what the parameters are under which the smart contract is supposed to operate, what makes what the audit is supposed to prove in the first place, what makes this smart contract valid, and what makes it void. And those parameters have not been discussed. So maybe it's,
Excellent point.
certainly it's premature to say that this is all, that this is a scam, or this is a ploy, but what we know is that we don't have those details, and they're valuable.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, I would just add that like it's great when we get excited about something new because we're so bored because we're in something that takes such good care of us that there's nothing left to do except, sit on your hands and like stop looking at charts. And then, you feel guilty because you're getting so much trustless interest. We've all been there. And, you feel like you got to be doing something. So now you start experimenting with these layer 2 solutions, aka layer 2 traps. And you start messing around with fake T shares or F shares, or instead of stakes, they're fakes, as I like to call them, right? And these are things that they get really exciting when you hear that this is going to be the thing to pump your bag to the moon. And that's not true, because I don't care how you spin it. It's not making anybody's hands stronger to take away the time locking. And guess what? Strong hands, that's what makes number go up, not selling. And I don't care if you sell for hex, because then the guy who had to buy the hex to buy your T-share isn't buying hex and making their own T-share. Like, keep your T-shares to yourself, people. And like, don't go exposing your private seed all over the place. That affects all of us, because then you get jacked and then you get nuked and then we get rich and you cry. So I don't want to have to drink the tears of the hex lovers, only the hex haters. So stay away from layer 2, all this swap business. I mean, what do you need to... Okay, last night, I'm on the horn with Bitfinesse and Uncle Kevin. I'm on the phone with Cookie Boys. Shout out, he's in the chat here. Who else was on there? Hexmac. We had a number of people there. And I'm not gonna lie, I FOMO'd into Hex. I was like, these guys are talking, saying a lot of things, building my confidence, and I'm gonna do a little conversion myself right now. And I don't know why the fees, the GUI on layer 1, you remember the layer, that layer that we all started with, feels like home sometimes. And home is where the hearts are. The smallest unit of division of a hex is a heart, and that's where the layer 1 is. I think I did a swap on MetaMask. I did a swap, and I don't even think I adjusted the fee down for the first time ever. And I think it was like ten bucks maybe to do a swap. And then I did a stake. I staked it right away. That was $15.
Um,
I paid $40 to get off a quick swap after I paid $10 to get on there. And when I was there, there wasn't anything I could do. I traded some ETH for quick swap tokens, saw that go up, but then I provided liquidity, so I lost the money. So then I like hurried up, got back into ETH, and got out of there. I pretty much broke even though quick swap went up like 30%.
Look, I'm gonna say this and think whatever you want, especially you, Maddie. But I've never adjusted fees in MetaMask. I've never looked at the fees. Um, I don't care. That I don't care. Not my issue, not my concern, not my train of thought, not my. I'm sorry, guys. I'm 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 not sorry. Those fees can go as high as they want. They're high because there's actual value and utility in utilizing the Ethereum chain. And I've never adjusted transaction times. I've just when I'm holding dollars, more dollars than I need for the next month, I get a little shaky
Sure.
because that is money that can be growing in a safe thing. So it's a mad dash to get that money into hex and get that hex staked. Um, if you are worried about fees, it's not a bad idea to take your the money you're going to save to benefit your future self and save it up for 30 days, then get it into crypto, get it into hex, and then stake it. You can hold it liquid and stake it every 6 months, but then the temptation is going to be to take your hex from layer one Ethereum and then pay $40 to go to layer two. And once you're there on layer two, though, you can swap this for that. You can swap that for this. You can make all the swaps you want. They're not free, but they're almost free. And once you're in that like wonderland, the fog is all around you. You're in this magical place. Because of the fog, you can't see the real world, but you're in there skipping and jumping, eating lollipops, and you're trading. Cool. Have fun. When you eventually get into hex there on layer two, you start looking for the stake button. Where's the lost a ton of money here already trading? Um, I remember I'm not a trader. Where's the stake button? You realize, oh no, you have to go back to layer one. When you go
Oops.
back to layer one, you have to pay the Ethereum fee again. So now
The
you're
real
80
stake
bucks in the
button, not
hole.
the fake button.
When you go back there, that's where the stake button's at. Then you gotta. So you have to pay the stake fee. You have to pay the swap fee. The fees you're paying on layer one Ethereum, you're going to pay those. You're going to pay them, or you're not going to get your hex staked. You're not going to get your Ethereum swapped into hex. You're not going to get your USDC swapped into hex. You're going to pay those fees. If you make the mistake of going to layer two, maybe it's not a mistake. Maybe you want to go there and trade. If so, tell layer two, I said what's up. But you're going to pay the fee to get back. So, but if you looked into this stuff before using it, if you were skeptical about these things, and you probably would have found out these things and not use it in the first place if your goal wasn't to go to layer two and trade. And let me tell you, the T-share is something you receive when you take your hex and you lock it up in the hex smart contract. on layer one. It assigns you a T share according to how many hex you put in and locked in the smart contract. That's what a T share is. Now, maybe one day on another layer, there will be a function where you can take your hex and lock it into a thing, and maybe that thing is legitimate, maybe it's not, but that thing is on another layer. It's not the thing that Kyle had a hand in developing. It's not what was designed when Hex was created. It's another thing. It's a third party. Maybe they have an audit. Maybe they don't. Maybe you know the parameters of that audit. Maybe you don't. You don't know those parameters right now. You are using a middleman to do whatever you're doing with those hex. But make no mistake, if that third party thing, if that middleman tells you you have T shares assigned to you, you have to trust that thing. You have to trust that it's telling you the truth. You have to trust that it's going to operate the same way as layer one did, which this is not created by the same party. This is the third party. This is a middleman. So just
Sounds like a
think
whole
about
lot
it.
more work. It sounds like a lot more
Sounds like
work.
a lot more work.
Yeah.
These shares you're getting, if you are getting shares at all, and by the way, if you're staking the way you would normally, you're staking for 5555, you've got to wait 15 years to see how big a mistake you made by staking on a different layer. So a T share is what you get from the core functions of Hex on layer one. Any other T shares, any other thing says it's giving you, these could be completely bogus. These could be technically unsafe shares.
Yeah.
Like these could be fundamentally unsafe shares. You might have just been rewarded FU shares. Like, man, I'll tell you, if I'm a middleman,
And what does that stand for?
fundamentally, like the T-shares you receive on any other layer are fundamentally unsafe. I'm sure FU could stand for lots of things.
Fundamentally unsafe.
So do you want FU shares that you don't know how they're going to operate in the future, or do you want the T shares that you know how they operate? They're on layer one. They were spat out of the universe when the fundamental principles of Hex were designed and created. It's really hard to make the justification to go from something that you know how it works, you know that it works, you know what you're getting, you know what your trade-offs are, you know what's going to happen if you do this, and you know what's going to happen if you do that. It's really hard to take something that's so well balanced. It's hard to make the justification to go from this perfect thing to taking on any additional risk. Maybe it's a lot of risk. Maybe it's a little bit of risk. Maybe it's only contract risk. Maybe there's risk you don't see yet. But I don't get why you would take on the extra risk. You're in Hex
To
to avoid
get
that
paid
risk.
less. That's why. Because it seems like people really like doing more work for less money, right? Isn't that the theme here in macroeconomics, that Uncle Sam is bleeding out your pockets by devaluing the dollar, printing more and more dollars every day to make sure that you do more work for less money? You know, might as well jack your savings up too.
It's really hard. Look, if you have a job, you go to work every day, you earn money, and generally the harder you work, the more money you make. Okay, great. But in finance, it's just a whole different world. It is really hard to believe or to even tell yourself that the way you make the money in finance is by doing nothing. You've already done the work. You've already done the research. Hexicans have been researching Hex for years. That's real research. We've done real research here. Now it's time to do nothing. You did your research. You were lucky
I,
and heard about it. You did the research. You hit
honestly,
the green buy button. You staked. Now do nothing. That's hard.
I don't know if that's possible for people. And I'm like, I'm being serious as a heart attack here. Like, we might need to create something as a community that like lies to you and says it's layer 2 but it's really layer 1 and you're holding it all along, and it like lies to you and says you're making less interest because you can't believe how good it is, and it lies to you and says like that there's a whole team of people working around the clock to do things but nobody's doing anything because it's already done.
I thought about, the idea of a smart contract that says, hey, come gamble, come use my layer 2 or my layer 7, and you can swap, and it's a trading thing. So you come to my thing, right? And you'll
Uh-huh.
trade, and you'll get annihilated like everybody else. But what if the money that you lost got staked for you? Like at the end of all your nonsense, when you felt
Yeah,
real bad, like it eventually just when your money's gone, the last thing it did was make a swap and make a stake for you, but didn't tell you for like
that's
5 or 10
genius.
years.
Like, that's what people
Because you
should be
gotta
doing.
you gotta feel it. You gotta feel the loss. Otherwise, like it's not fun, I guess. You
Yes,
gotta
you
feel
don't
the
learn your
loss.
lesson.
Yeah. Which is like, there's massive value in hurting, in feeling pain. But like burpees exist, you know? Go run a marathon. Like work, like put your body in physical discomfort so that your mind can be at ease. That's a real thing. Just sitting at a computer all day, you've got 10 fingers, 10 of them. They're going to
Use
start
them.
pressing buttons. They're going to press those buttons. Some of your fingers are going to press. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Chop your hands
I
off?
love that.
Take
I
away
love
some of your
that.
fingers? I mean, they're gonna feel like we got to do work. If we're not doing work, we're not fulfilling our purpose. We're not gaining any ground. We know we have to grow our money. We have to. If we're not working, we're a bad person, right? We have no purpose in this world. Like we
Mm,
have to do something. You've already
yeah.
done it. You've done the research. You're in the thing. So get deeper in the thing. That's actually beneficial. Like work harder in life so you can make more money and put more money into hex and stake it longer. And then work really, really, really hard defending your stakes. Work as hard as you can, keeping your life kind of in order, staying out of jail, staying away from addiction. Try to eat healthier so that you can live longer, so that when your stakes become mature, you can walk. You can still drive a vehicle. These are actual useful things. These are actions you can actually be
You can
taking.
buy new hands because you cut them off because you couldn't stop pressing buttons.
I mean, those bionic arms I see people with, it's like, do I really need I mean, if we know we can have arms later, and my arms are going to be ending my stakes early or bringing me to different layers, how bad do I really need my arms right now? You just have
Facts.
to manage. You just have to manage the pros and cons. Like, are your
Manage
arms
your
going to
risk.
harm you more now than they're going to help you? If your arms are going to be something that ruins your
I,
life, you're better off without them.
I think there's a lot of people in the hex community that could benefit from an amputation right about now.
Maybe I'll open a shop. I mean, I can help you out. If you really want it,
Bitfinesse is
you can get it.
butchery.
I'm here to help, man. Whatever you need.
Well, yes, and we'll take you up on some of these offers that you're making. I know you've offered to punch Brian Armstrong in the face and make him eat his teeth. Um, the CEO of Coinbase.
If I were a CEO of a company, and I say this because the doctors I've worked with, the nurses I've worked with, they're really annoyed eventually with people because most people abuse. They go to the emergency room for runny noses, so they become apathetic over time. I get it. CEO of a company probably feels the same way about their customers. Oh, they're always whining. Where's my money? Why can't I trade right now? Where's my coins? Where do the dollars go? It would probably feel good to punch someone in the face. And there's kind of a trend going on of people who are not trained uh, combative technicians going hand to hand, and it's a lot of fun, right? So you can raise a lot of money selling tickets. It would probably be really cool publicity for Coinbase.
I'm
Like,
gonna make a coin
CEO
for it.
fights one of
Yeah.
his customers, and also I might get my ass kicked. You know, I'm not I'm not I'm not Mike Tyson. I'm not uh, Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm not. I might get smoked, but that's okay. Like, I would do it all just for the opportunity to punch Brian Armstrong in the face, because this is a guy whose company holds your money. Um, you know, a few thousand of my dollars have been held for over 30 days now. And you submit these tickets, and you can't get a response back, you can't get an email back, and then Brian Armstrong boasts publicly about Coinbase being a decentralized company. Like, hey guys, is you like decentralization, don't you? Well, our company is fully decentralized. That's why you can't get a call back. That's why there's no customer service. Isn't that awesome?
You're gonna
Like, that's
decentralize
cute.
his teeth from his face.
Yeah, maybe he needs his face decentralized. So I would be willing. I would be willing to challenge Brian Armstrong to a match of gentlemen, and he can sell the tickets and keep the profits. I think it'd be great publicity, and if he smokes me, Brian, you can keep my money. How about that? If you kick my ass, I'll take it.
I'm gonna take
Of course,
bets
there'll
for
be.
like how many teeth are lost on like which side, and like, you know, I'm gonna open a whole automated market maker of bets that people
Well,
can speculate on.
Brian Armstrong claims to love full decentralization, so let's shoot for that. And just for the opportunity, I would waive my legal rights to take any action after. And if you win, you can keep my money, Brian, and we'll go by your rules. I just want 4-ounce gloves or less. That's it. So
How about
you
if
pick the
how about
parameters.
if you win, then you get your money right away when you put it on Coinbase.
Or maybe triple my money. How about, like, hey,
Sure. Okay.
I mean, let's make it a contest. Let's make it a
Yeah. Now we're
contest.
talking
I'll fight for my money, and
incentives.
I'll fight to 3x my money, and you can fight to I mean, I don't know what you want with my $3,000, but, like, why are you holding it then? How
Well,
come
like
I
you
can't get in
said,
contact
he
with
wants
anybody
the
at your company?
satisfaction of punching a customer
I would.
who is always
If I were him.
asking where's my money. So
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think it's something we can all benefit from. And I mean, who wouldn't watch that? Hey, Brian Armstrong's going to fight some dude. Who's this dude? He's a pissed off customer. I'm in. How much are the tickets?
yeah, we've just had somebody buy a ticket, and I appreciate your donation to the ticket fund. You'll get a ringside.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I mean, this can be done. This isn't. I don't think it's that far fetched a fantasy. You know?
Hey Molly, how's it going?
Hey, Motley. Yeah, so it could be a good time. It could be a really good time. I've been a little preemptive. I told my company, you know, hey, if I need 2 weeks off from work to go to San Francisco, you guys have a problem with that? They said no, handle your business. So let's
Yes,
let's handle it like gentlemen, Brian. It'll be a good
that's
time.
right.
And I don't
And
know anything special. He's richer than I am, so I imagine he trains more than I do. That certainly has to be the case, because if I were Brian Armstrong, I would be super, super heavily trained. I would know
I
all the
mean,
things.
would
Yeah.
you make sure people got their money when they put it into crypto?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what the game is. You know, if I designed the company to scam people, no, I would just scam people. But if I designed the company to be this shining light, this thing that sneakily got the blessing of the Fed and behind the scenes is actually helping people, then yeah, I would make sure that I died before someone had their money held up. Because we're trying to
Yeah.
do something here.
So if
But
I
don't
paid
expect it.
12, yeah, go ahead.
Don't expect it. So I have a lot of people messaging me like, I'm having the same problem. Who should I use? There's no answer to that. You have to use these banks. You have to use these exchanges. They all suck. So I think the best thing you can do is have like 5 checking accounts at 5 different banks and have every one of those checking accounts wired directly to 5 different exchanges. So, so like right now, Coinbase is holding my money. Cool. I'll use my next exchange. So all of my accounts are linked to all of my exchanges. Some of those exchanges I haven't used in a long time. So, I never send all of the money that I want to put into crypto now. I never send it all through one exchange. I send it little pieces at a time. When one exchange starts acting up, I go on to the next one. And at least you can just, all you can hope for is that these middlemen don't all suck to the maximum at once. And there's your risk management. Like you have to spread that risk nice and thin. 5 banks, 5 exchanges, little pieces of money at a time. I'm not gonna kill myself over $3,000. And if Coinbase wants to pay me $3,000 to inform me that they are never to be used again, then that's that's a great gift if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, that just highlights like the on ramps and off ramps. These are places where we need to be careful. We need to do our research. We need to share our resources as a community. Um, we
I
got
disagree.
what?
I disagree, man. It's not the
What do you
on
mean?
ramps and the off ramps. It's the on ramps. It's the off ramps. It's the second layer. It's the third layer. It's everything else. It's not just like, hey, watch out for that bank. Hey, that bank over there sucks.
Oh,
Don't
is
use
that
that
what I
bank.
said? That's all.
Well, you said. Well, I mean, you didn't say that's all, but
Okay.
it is. The point is to be made very sternly that it's not that there are things you have to watch out for. We live in a world of scams. Everything more or less is a scam. All these other things, the banks, the exchanges, the layers, it's like all of it.
Yo.
Where like I worry that people are going to spend too much time only in Hex and then forget how bad everything else is because Hex is so safe. It's like if you're just in Hex and you're staking long on
Facts.
layer 1, it's possible that you just forget how how
How brutal it
how
is out there.
bad everything else sucks so bad. And we're in the best thing in all of international monetary banking, and it's like don't forget where you came from. Don't forget it, Hexicans. Don't get
They
spoiled.
forgot. They
A
got
lot of them,
spoiled.
I think a lot of them forgot, and they will have to relearn. And that sucks. It sucks. I feel for you guys.
Dangerously smart. Stop watching the screen while you're driving. Like audio only guy. Um, yeah. So there are traps around every corner, and that's why I deal with only layer one real T shares. And but I don't want people to go down the wrong path. So gotta be careful out there, people.
There's a lot of paths. There's always a lot of paths. Um, there's never just one path. And there shouldn't be one path. You should have choices. But everywhere you have choices, you rarely have the choice to do the right thing, to do something that's actually going to help you. I mean, just think like when was the last time you saw a commercial and you went and did some business because of a commercial and you were happy a week later. Has that ever happened?
Mm,
Ever?
mm.
It's like, what next mistake can I
It's all
make?
supposed to be subconscious, though, right? Isn't that how they sell ads, like pretending like it works?
Yeah, but
That's
at
why
the end of the
Richard
day,
doesn't
like,
advertise, because advertising's a scam.
yeah, I mean, the one thing that actually should be advertised is just it's nowhere to be found. So I haven't watched TV in, I don't know, it's been I don't know, I'll say 12 years, maybe it's been 15 years. It's been a long time. Whenever Black Donnelly's was taken off the air, that's when I stopped watching TV. But every 2 years or so, I would find myself in a hotel and I would turn on the TV, just be like, wow, I wonder what TV is like now. And it just feels like a terrible, rancid acid trip. It is horrifying,
Yo,
and it
for
just
real.
gets worse and worse. Like I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, right? So I'm eternally damned in the world of football. I can't talk football with
That's
anybody
football.
because I'm a loser. My team are like Bills literally stands for boy, I love losing Super Bowls. We lost 4 in a row, right? Which statistically is you got the same probability as winning 4 in a row, so it can be rationalized. But this past season, the Bills went to the playoffs and we went pretty deep. So I watched one football game this year, and it was the last game when Buffalo played Kansas City, and I had to stream it on my phone, and there was no way to turn off the commercials, so I was just turning the volume down on my headphones.
Pro tip.
Wow, the commercials, it was so, I can't remember the last time I was so offended by these commercials. Just like, because like Hexicans know, we kind of know, we have a better idea of where we're at, and the commercials were just so tra la 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 la. We're fucking you in the ass. It's like, oh my god, this is so blatant. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't, and a lot of people still watch TV, and I find that insane.
I
I find that so insane.
I don't subscribe to any like sort of like cable service or get any channels, really now I switched back in the summer just to watching educational stuff. I don't watch shows anymore, which I used to enjoy, but now I enjoy learning more. And but I ended up getting a TV recently because it's been like 7 or 10 years since I got a TV, and it connects to YouTube, and so I can see it on a big screen, and everything. And sure enough, as soon as the return period ended for whatever 3 or 6 months, then the TV automatically updated its software irreversibly and changed the way that it works, so I can't just use it as a line in. Every time I turn it on, it starts playing a bunch of garbage ads in my face. And this is this is what to expect from a broken monetary system where printing more money causes people to be more ill, and for middlemen to continue to ravage everybody, and take advantage of people. It's a joke. But I was what was it? I was listening. There's this group outside of Hex that I like to listen to. It's the Chamath, and like
Alahabatia.
it's the Allin podcast. I didn't start it, but they're promoting my brand for me, and it's like these three or four like venture capital billionaires, and they just like sit around and pretend to virtue signal, and it's like it's like if Richard was in like a backwards reality, like it would be he would be telling people things that some things are true and some things aren't, and he would be like just laughing about oh, I lost $2 billion. Who cares? Like blah blah blah. And anyway, they were making some really good points about the economy and about printing money and about the fact that like we see the highest inflation in education and medicine, right? And what was the other one? I forget what they said. But basically, those are the places where the government has stepped in to pay for everything, or they're a high level payer, and so that just shows how inefficient government is at running things and printing money, and so
I don't know. I mean, I agree that the government is inefficient, but inefficient at what? I mean, if you ask, if your premise is that the government is here to help people and here to stabilize the economy and here to protect what people have spent their blood and sweat for, yeah, I would say they're wildly inefficient. But if your premise is that the government is here to suck the wealth from the people generating it, if they're here to just squander and sit and rent seek, I go all over the country, and the area around Washington D.C. is it's insanely wealthier than even LAX. I mean, it's and all that money that was used to build those things, it was not earned, it wasn't worked for. It
mm,
was it was I don't it, it was robbed, it was taken, it was stolen, it was taxed, whatever you want to call it. It was it you the people who that money belonged to didn't have a choice to hand over that money. And it's no coincidence that when you turn on cable TV every April 1st to April 15th, everyone's talking about how great it is that everyone voluntarily pays their taxes. But we don't know that, do we? We don't know if it's actually voluntary until there's no longer a gun to your head. So long as I have my gun to your head, you can tell yourself that you're doing not what I tell you to do, but what you really realize you wanted to do all along. You can tell yourself that. But while the gun's still there, it we don't know. And so I just, yeah, the government inefficient, or are they super duper efficient? It depends
good
on what
point.
premise you want to have. Yeah, they
Very
might
good
be
point.
really good at what
Yeah,
they do.
because they already own all of the shares of medicine, and so
Yeah.
then they can just pay themselves. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if I owned all the hex, would I really be sad about the hex price going through the roof like it has a tendency to do? Um, I don't. I I mean, I could cry about it, but it would be the greatest propaganda ever. So sorry, hex is going through the roof, guys. I wish this wasn't happening, but it is. Man, I'm glad I own a lot of it. You know, awesome.
Yeah, like so. Bitfinesse, when are you gonna sell your hex?
I will be selling hex, guys. Um, but what do you want me to say, man? I can't, I can't do it before $77. I will sell my hex at $77.
Why 77?
Why not? Like, and it's going to be a sad day when I do sell my hex for $77 because it's not going to stop there. Like, I understand the constant product automated market maker on Uniswaps. Like, there's just like cool, $77, awesome. I'm going to sell my hex now, but it's going to go way higher than that. So
Are you gonna
I
sell
I
like a
just
percentage of it at like $67, or are you gonna sell it all at 77?
just tiny tiny, 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 tiny fractions of my interest.
Well,
Is
and what
is
are you
what
going to
I'm.
sell for?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I I don't know. And I might not sell at 77. I do know when I do start selling hex, the amount I'll sell is going to be so minuscule compared to what I have. Um, I will never sell principal. Like, why would I do that? I will never sell all of the interest generated from a stake. Why would I do that? I will sell hex, but just teeny, 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 teeny little pieces of percents of interest generated from a stake. I know two things, right? I know that there were a lot of people who sold another coin for $1,000 a piece. This happened, and they sold more than they should have. A lot of them sold it all, and
Ah,
they watched it go to $20,000. And a lot of them,
is that where it
I
stayed? 20,000?
it hit 20K and dropped. And the ones who didn't harm themselves when it hit 20K, certainly they felt better when it started to drop from 20K. Like, cool, maybe that's the all-time high. It'll never go there again. And, maybe I'm not such a doofus after all. But I bet they reconsidered their future when it went right back up and past, it went to 55,000. And it's like, oh, you sold at $1,000. What did you buy? What did you buy? You bought pizza, coffee, and a Ferrari? Man,
I make
like,
my own pizza.
I make my own coffee. you know, uh, I just don't know what could possibly make me even think about selling all of my interest or even pieces of my principal. So the idea of like selling all of your hex, it's like, um, I don't know what to tell you because you have no options after that. All of your options are terrible after you sell all of your hex. You can either hold dollars, which is like why would you do that? 10x the money printer has been going burr 10x decade over decade.
Wow.
It would be very silly to only assume that it's going to do another 10x in burr. It's probably going to do a 13 or 15x in burr the next decade over what it already has. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who misjudge how much more money is going to be printed in the future. And like, for people who are 30, 40, 50, 60, when they sell all their hacks, it's like you've got a lot of time left to live. So now you're holding dollars and you can't fathom how fast it can be devalued. You can't fathom it. The money printer just, it's not like you have to raise armies and nations to print this money. It's so easy to print money. So you can't imagine how fast it can be devalued. So sitting in dollars is like not an option unless you're going to buy something. Like, hey, there's something I really want to buy. I need it. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to buy a yacht. I'm going to buy a country. Okay, like then get your dollars and buy it. But you better spend that money. Once you're in dollars, you better spend that money. Or you can realize that you've fucked up and get back in to the only thing that's really ever going to have your back, the thing that's printing you free money. But in 15 years or in 10 years, the prices you're going to have to buy in at, whatever they may be, it's going to be there's exponentially less risk buying it now and just holding it and then not selling it. Like that's all you have to do is just not sell it. And if you need to buy something, you need to buy something. You can break off tiny little pieces of your interest, but I don't like the idea of selling at a people are selling at a penny. That is so cute. We're selling at a penny. Someone's gonna sell at $1. Someone's gonna sell at $10. Someone's gonna sell at 50. I'm gonna sell at 77. You know, might
I
sell a
bought
couple
from
hundred hex.
somebody who sold it at 8/10 of a penny
Look,
last night.
Historically, the people who have sold crypto have regretted it. We're in the
Yeah.
highest appreciating asset the world has ever known. Nobody, like, nobody's outside jumping up and down about selling their coins for $10 or $100 or $1,000 or even $10,000. Like, at one point, the idea that, hey, your coin's going to be $10,000. No, it's not even imaginable. But that's why we're here, because these things do unimaginable things. You can't understand it yet. You can't imagine what can happen. So
Yeah.
making a decision now, taking action now, when the future you can't even fathom, but at the very least you know that it could be the worst decision of your life to sell any of your crypto. And selling at $77, trust me, I'll be making a mistake. If I sell a couple hundred coins for $77, I know I'll be fucking up. But I mean, even Hexo bought a pizza with Hex. I love you,
Wow.
Hexo. I love you, man.
He was
But
making a point.
he was making a point, and he is tracking how much that pizza is worth, over time. Pretty expensive pie there. I like pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza's great. You know, hot coffee, pizza, pretty awesome. But I can pay $1 million for one.
I mean, we got somebody in the chat who has a bro who bought a dishwasher for $2 million.
What does it do?
It takes your 40.1 BTC at $110, and then you swap it for a motorcycle, and then you swap that for a dishwasher. Those are some clean dishes.
Well, there's a guy who traded a paperclip for a house. There's a documentary about it. Started with a paperclip. I think he traded like a pencil. Then he traded his pencil for something a little more valuable. And after a year or two, he had like a snowmobile, he had
That's so
motorcycles,
cool.
and eventually he, had a house from a paperclip. I mean, that guy's a master trader, real world master trader. But he still ain't going to outperform the ROI of Hex with it giving you 40%, 40% interest per year just for like an average size stake. If you're staked for 15, look, I've got stakes making over 80% interest. It's like, what?
When are those from? Oh, CIA cut you off. Thanks, A Human, for buying a ticket to the Bitfinesse versus Brian Armstrong show. We appreciate you. When did those start? The 80% ones? Because
day 2.
Okay.
I think I staked it on day 4 though.
Day 4? Oh, that's the day I got in.
Yeah. So that means I got in at day 2, staked it on day 3, and it became active on day 4.
So is that a stake from day 3? Or a stake from day 4?
Day 4. I staked it on day 3, but it was pending until the day 3 rolled over to day 4. So I think it considers that a day 4 stake.
Yeah.
I consider it a day 2 entry because I was in the AA on day 2.
Okay.
Yes, I listened to Richard Hart. Yes, I took his advice and did not get in on day 1.
How dare you listen to him?
Guy says a lot. He's right about a lot of shit. As it turns out, he's got a pretty good track record. Provable. I wouldn't say that if it couldn't be proven. I hear he called the $20,000 Christmas or something like that. 6 months. I don't know. Something like that. I heard he called the short too. I heard he called the butt. He said some things that
he did call the bottom because I allegedly bought $100 worth of Bitcoin when he said to it like 3,800. I just sold it the other day, allegedly, because I didn't want to give Robinhood my business, and
Yeah.
then I moved it over to Ethereum allegedly, and I put it into Hex. Got me some sweet T-shirts. got, allegedly got like 20 T-shirts for $100.
Jeez. Jeez. I mean,
So
I'm
I know he
lucky to
called the
get.
bottom. I was there.
Yeah, I remember. Man, I I'm not sad and I'm not mad that I managed risk getting into Hex. It was just, it just sounded too good to be true. And this is after spending a couple of years watching Richard Hart's videos. I felt like I knew him. I felt like I've seen this guy, dead air, stare at a screen for a minute at a time and annihilate some commenter who instead of taking in brilliant information is making fun of him, annihilated. It's like I just really felt like I knew the guy. And still I felt like, I don't know, man, this seems pretty, it just seems too good. Like, what could there be something else? Could Richard Hart could this be a troll job? It kind of feels like a troll job. I know he was really upset about Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin, but he was honest about Ethereum being the better thing over time. So I was stuck between honesty and, like, I don't know, this guy's really brilliant. Maybe he is here to just annihilate crypto. So yeah, I couldn't decide which. So I managed risk getting into Hex, and I put like under $1,000 in on the second day, and then I did it
Allegedly.
again, allegedly. But I could have gotten in so much heavier, 20x heavier. It's like,
I hear
but I
you.
didn't. So there's a lot of extra money that I don't have that I could have had, and that's okay. Like, that has to be okay with me. That has to be okay. I'm not going to make the highest ROI in crypto. There are going to be people who get every single airdrop. I'm not going to get that. No way. Maybe I'll get a MetaMask airdrop. I didn't get the Uniswap airdrop because I got more hex through the through the lobby, through the adoption amplifier lobby, than I got on Uniswap. So I wasn't using Uniswap until after the adoption amplifier was over, all the way over. So I didn't get the airdrop, and that's okay. I'd rather have the more hex. And now there's a lot of airdrops that I you guys who have the guts to go after all those airdrops, I hope you get stupid rich. I hope it works out for you. I
Thank
hope
you.
there's a set amount of money that you're saying, okay, I'm gonna take this however much dollars, and I'm okay with losing it, so I'm gonna use it to go after these airdrops. I hope you're
Yes,
managing
that's what
risk
I'm doing.
using,
I
yeah,
took the
and
money that I got from airdrops and I reinvested into airdrops. Well, the first
brilliant.
airdrop money I got, I invested it into the Hex community by buying Hex cameos and paying celebrities to do short shout outs to Richard. And then, then after that, further airdrops, I reinvested because I want to own MetaMask. I think it'd be cool if people in Hex owned MetaMask. That'd be cool.
Would be pretty cool to take over MetaMask. That would be to own, to acquire. Yeah, that would be something real special.
But you did it
You know,
right. I mean, you couldn't have come out better. And that's the thing is like even when people like I hope you're all not out there like rebuying into Uniswap like buying at a higher price because guess what? Like I know at least at like $20 Uniswap price, like you still did better. If you dumped it when you got it and you bought eggs and then you got the big payday that doubled your stack if you're staked long enough. And I mean that Uniswap, it's worth, well, what would it be worth? It'd be worth like I think it's about even at $30. It's about even. And which one is getting ready to dump on you and which one is paying you 50% APY?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'd rather have my risk managed expertly. I can manage risk really well. Whether I stick to it and do it, every single time, that's another story. It's like being on a diet and driving down the road and there, at any second you can pull off and order some garbage food. It's really hard to stay on a diet because there's so much opportunity to do terrible things. So
Mm-hmm.
the more financial transactions I'm making, the more I try these other things, the more opportunity there is for me to just put in more money than I'm willing to lose. And that is so easy to do. So the best way for me to manage my risk is like with Bitcoin. Like when I let go the last bits of my Bitcoin, I knew Bitcoin was going to go higher. I let go of it at 29K, and I put it all. Uh, I was terrified to use the bridge.rem project.io, but I did. Got my rep BTC and got it into Hex at under a penny, knowing that Bitcoin's going to go up more, a lot more. But holding Bitcoin is a risk that I personally can't manage because even if I'm not buying more of it, there, what if another inflation bug happens? This could actually happen. It's happened twice before. What if that happens and it falls
I've
below
asked
the
all people who exploit the next inflation bug in Bitcoin to buy hex with their Bitcoin. So I'm glad you brought up the Bridge Ren project because they're going to need that as a tool in order to buy into hex when they print free Bitcoin.
and it's a good option, so long as you're not holding that wrap BTC. Like
Well,
you can
no,
hop across
yeah,
that bridge. You don't want
yeah,
to live on the bridge, but you can
you
hop across it.
exploit the inflation bug. I mean, Richard said the other day, he said he figured out a way if there was another inflation bug to keep it secret and to exploit it without people knowing that you're doing it. And he said he wasn't telling us. I can't think of one other thing Richard said that wasn't true, so I believe him on that one.
Yeah, when I think of Richard Hart, the first thing I don't think is, I don't know, he might be right, he might be wrong. I don't think that at all. I think so strongly that, oh, here we go, that I like have to put the brakes on. Hang on, don't get crazy. Like, yes, this information is likely very, very good, but
So yeah,
managing
I
risk is
mean,
just it's the way to go. It's the way to go because then you'll be safe no matter what. But I do not cry about letting go of the rest of my Bitcoin at 29K and getting it into Hex because it's
that's what's
staked,
up.
it's locked. The money I have locked in Hex, it's the easiest risk management in the world. The hardest risk management for me is not chasing things that I know I don't have the time to actually research because that's another danger. We've researched Hex so in depth. What other project has anyone in crypto researched to the extent that we've all researched Hex? So a new thing comes out, it's enticing, it's fun, but the research is hard. So there's a very strong likelihood that you could be messing with a thing that you haven't researched as well as you've researched Hex. That there's a real danger there. As long as you're aware of it, you can do something about it. But these other things are not. You can't assume these other things are safe because Hex is so awesome. This is like Hex, right? No, Hex is like Hex. Like
That's right.
use Hex 1 or Hex 2 or use the third Hex. If you want to use the fourth Hex that's out there, go for it.
Yeah,
They're all called Hex. Like it's Hex, it's Hex, it's Hex, and then it's Hex. Layer 1, primary functions. Like it's just it's so good. It's so good. It's too good. It's too good that it's so good that it's offensive It's the only thing wrong with Hex is that it's too good. Like you're gonna think it's too good and manage risk too tightly. You're gonna wish you went harder. Good job for managing risk, but it's the only thing that really sucks about Hex is that it's literally too good. I can't believe how good it is.
I heard layer
Good.
7
What a
is where
shitty
it's
word for
at.
it. Say that again.
Layer 7.
Well, when I come out with layer 8, I'll let you know what I think about layer 7.
I mean, like, I'm just telling people about it now because, like, I haven't written the code and I haven't audited it, and I just want to promote it a lot right now. There's going to be a referral program. Um, it's the best. All you have to do is go from layer 1 to layer 2, then layer 2 to layer 3, so on and so forth, and like, who knows what kinds of Dungeons and Dragons and fees you're going to find in between there, but it'll definitely be worse for you. So I know how everybody likes that.
Yeah, it'd be funny if the fees, get progressively smaller and people realize that these fees are just completely arbitrary. It's like, what are you
Like I said,
doing?
20. Okay, Bitfinesse, explain this to me. All right.
All right.
Last night we were on Twitter Spaces. We were having our little clubhouse hangout. I spent $25 of fiat quid to send $2,000 allegedly to myself 15 years in the future, to where I can't even screw it up for 7 years. Like, what?
Yeah.
Small price to pay. What is that? That's a 1%.
But the $25 also covered you for no one else ever being able to touch that money. That just kind of comes with it. Like, we'll throw that in.
Yeah.
Like, wait,
for a limited
25
time,
bucks?
forever.
I'm going to send this 15 years into the future, and it's going to be there. And with it, you're just going to throw in a free best
security
protection that's ever existed. Free security, free middleman
free
elimination
community,
protocols.
Free interest from the Genesis origin address.
But Maddie, I want it to be $10. Like what?
$10.
I
$10 to get in,
mean,
and $40 to get out. That's what you want?
Whatever it is,
Like,
whatever you got to pay to keep your money safe and to let it keep growing. It's like, it's whatever you got to pay it. It's a great deal. It's a great deal at 10. It's a great deal at 25. It's a great deal at $100. It's a great deal at $1,000. I mean, how you know what? Like, you know what Pablo Escobar's security detail bill probably was, right? And he still wasn't safe. Got him
a
anyway.
lot of lives.
Jeez, $25. I can't, I won't, and I never will complain about fees in Hex. If any of you ever catch me complaining about fees, man, let me have it. Like, it displays a wild misunderstanding of what we're doing here.
It's pretty valuable. Yeah.
Pretty valuable. Yeah, it's pretty valuable. I don't know how to explain it.
The most valuable thing ever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll start there.
And we got a team of people working around the clock to figure out how much better it is than everything else ever invented.
Yeah, and we all think we know exactly how good it is.
I
wrong.
don't.
We find out
I do
a couple
not
weeks
know.
later. Wrong.
I don't know how good Hex is. I just know it's the best.
Only comes along, throws charts on the screen, falls asleep, it snores, wakes up, fully refreshed, and the next chart. And we're like, oh, damn, wrong. I knew how great this thing was.
Snores
Thank you,
only.
sir, for coming along. It's like, yeah, so we're probably wrong now.
He's
Just
awesome.
like I thought the dollar was amazing. These people keep showing up, who are like, hey guys, I don't think you've seen this. I don't think you've considered this. It's like, oh my God. Wow. So we're still being spoon fed how good this is, and that was the reason for my tight risk management in the first place, was that Richard Hart didn't just say, like, that meme from It's Always Sunny with the guy in the diagram on the wall.
Charlie working in the mailroom.
Yeah, we didn't get that with Hex. We didn't have Richard Hart go, okay, it's gonna go like this and like this, and we get this and we got this, and keeps all these guys out. We didn't get that, so we were spoon fed, but we're putting the pieces together, and it's I can't explain how lucky we are. Like,
so
because we're all just lucky to be here.
Let's try to break it down a little bit, because when I was on my run today, I was thinking, like, what would be a good thing to calculate, right? And I need to get better at working with Elastic Kibana, because that's where you can pull data off Hex.vision, I think, and be able to see the future market supply of t-shirts coming out. And you guys have heard me like point out that there are a number of things that we could be calculating, and some of them Whales Only is working on, and a lot of times, people who like ourselves, who think about Hex a lot because we're so interested in the novelty, the new economic invention and ingenuity that went into it, and the everything that continues to be emerging properties of this new creation, right? So for example, I think it would be cool to calculate, like, if you took all of the liquidity on the market and you turn those into T-shares, like what's the maximum T-shares that you could have right now? Because I don't know that off the top of my head, and I don't know that anybody's calculated it.
So if all the market supply that's liquid right now were bought up over, say, X period of time or another period of time, because they have different charts, how many T-shirts would that buy at the current?
So yeah, there's two that you could do currently. So one would be how much liquid Hex is there that we think that the origin address doesn't hold. That's not, how much Hex is not locked. So we would think 10% of Hex is locked. The OA controls 85% of Hex, and so that would make like 5% of Hex liquid that could be staked, right? And so we could see how many 15-year T-shares that could buy, right? At today's prices. And then another thing we could look at is, not including that, how much Hex is there on the automated market maker order books to where somebody could buy and create T-shirts that way. And if we had those two numbers, then we could tell ourselves now, like, exactly how, like, basically, so you could do that, right? You could tell yourself, like, how many T-shirts could exist right now. And then you could have a chart, and I've talked about this before, going forward, that shows, like, whenever people end their stakes, if they do the maximum best option, if they stake as long as they can because they've realized the error of their ways for only staking 2 years, and then, so even if everybody does the maximum best game theory, how many T-shares would exist at that moment in time? I think you could start to carve out what, like, the minimums would be, and you could model that and actually know it, versus you don't know how many people are going to emergency end stake. You don't know what the USD price is going to do. But I think that there are a number of things in the system that could be calculated, because we have we have those commitments that are unbreakable, and you could do like a roll off of however much penalties you would pay if you got out of the system. We know longer pays better. And so I think that there are some cool things, right, that we don't fully understand or we haven't pinned down yet that I would love to know. What would you like to know?
Well, I think you're right that we don't have all the charts. Yeah. Something I would like to know is if a new buyer wants to hold a 5555 stake, and if that is the only way he's going to get into Hex. So that's saying he's either going to buy a Quattro Cinco stake or he's not going to get into Hex. Maybe this is a player who can't get into Hex. unless you buy someone else's stake. Okay.
Somebody who
Um,
can't get into hex, why?
maybe because, well, factually, because maybe he's too big a player, and if he buys on Uniswap using the constant product automated market maker,
Yes.
he is going to push the price against himself too hard. So if that person is going to only get in through buying someone else's stake, I want to know what the effect of, I want to know, I'd like to see a chart of staked hex over time and how much it's reduced by this person buying a stake, say a Quattrocinco that's 10 years in, it's got 5 years until maturity, and versus him not being able to buy that stake, having to the only other option he's got is to create his own Quattrocinco stake to get the same yields. So I want to know what the value, what a chart showing the value of staked hex over time, someone buy for each stake bought on the market versus having to create his own stake.
You're talking about layer 2?
Yeah.
Because the other thing that could be calculated now is like what the minimum future share price will be based on people ending their stakes, because we know that pushes up the cost of a T share in hex a certain amount, and so you could actually, that's one that I'm hoping Will's or I will be able to create. You don't know how high it could be, but the minimum amount that it would have to ratchet up with every stake coming out, because that's coded, right? So there's like so many cool things that are yet to be discovered in the world of
A lot of
hex.
charts.
A lot of charts, a lot of data analysis. And so, why don't we finish exploring layer 1 before we go on to any other layers, like layer 7, that's my layer. I called it. I planted the Maddie flag on layer 7. It's mine. Bitfinesse called layer 8. So, we got these layers. They're going fast, If you don't call it now, somebody else might call it. So, get in now.
Hopefully,
right?
hopefully one of these layers inevitably and eventually is a trick that takes the money you you lose doing whatever you did on that layer and stakes it for you. I mean, hopefully there's a portal somewhere that just takes your money and warps it into a stake so that you have it in the future.
I know of that, and it's called Hex Layer 1.
It's that's the only thing that I can think that would actually be beneficial on another layer, and it's already there on layer 1. So I get that people get bored. I would love to have code on a good, honest project that helped hexagons. I would be so honored to have code, but we've got it. We've got this thing. Got it now. It's done. Like hex is done. So if you're getting bored with hex, like take up a hobby, learn how to shoot, learn how to fight. Go fight your favorite exchange middleman. Challenge him to a
Learn
fight.
how to buy more hex and stake it on layer 1.
I just can't bring myself
Spread
to
the
even
good
think of using
word.
these other layers. Yeah,
Tell
layer
people to
1
buy
is
hex. Tell people to not buy hex. Like, do your part. Keep the price low so we can keep accumulating. Pump the price. Do whatever you're gonna do.
Run a 5-year FUD campaign and make sure that campaign ends with a live stream with Richard Hart. It'd be awesome. That'd be great. Like, go tell people that hex is the worst thing in the world, and do that for 5 years, and then let it end with a live stream with Richard Hart, and then beg for his forgiveness. Hex is too good to be thinking about using other things. It's too good to be thinking about using
Too
it.
good.
And it's like my brother. My brother said, "Oh yeah, I'll do my 15.2 year stake, and then when I'm done, I'll take those profits and put them into real estate." I said, "Cool. Let me know in 15 years if you really do that." Like I bet you won't, because you can make more than 40% returns somewhere else, but not with the risk parameters on the original Hex Layer 1 protocol. It has the highest return for the lowest risk anywhere in the world. If you can find another thing that's even comparable. And by comparable, I don't mean giving your money to an exchange or a company that then goes on the market and buys a thing and then distributes that to you as interest, where they actually have your private keys, they have your coins, and they overlook that security issue, and they give you 2% return. These things are vastly different. They're vastly different. One thing
So you're saying
is
that there's a difference, that it's important who holds the powerful coins? That's what you're saying?
whoever holds the keys to your money owns your money.
Oh.
Like, that is the owner of your money. Whoever controls the keys to your money, they are the rightful owner of your money. So
But
if
I
you have
learned
your
on
seed
lunch
words,
money that I should send 100% of my keys to somebody who pays me 7% interest.
then you have made a donation. And, depending on the
Oh,
organization, maybe you're a philanthropist, but you're not
yeah.
growing your money. Yeah, you've given your money to SOD, some other dude. Not
Yeah.
not the way to grow your money. Yeah. Yeah, you have to control your own keys, guys. You got to control your seed words. And if you don't, someone else will.
I mean, I kind of have to hope that, that they'll keep paying 7% for 7 years so I can get my 100% back. You know, it's like, and then I can
Yeah.
beg and plead that they'll give me that I'll actually have doubled my money down to 2x with all that risk that I went seven
Well,
years loaning out the thing that I thought was valuable. That was so valuable it would pay me 7%. What a scam. Gosh. It's no
the
wonder they
best
don't
situation.
teach finances in school. People wouldn't get,
The
there wouldn't
best.
be so much money around to scam out of people.
I think the best situation you can find yourself in the world is to be someone who loves high risk endeavors. Right? Drive down the highway, you see billboards every few miles for high interest savings accounts, and not even a percent. Wales only had RG3 look up the current rates for jumbo CDs, 15-year jumbo CDs, and they fluctuated between 0.8 and 1.3% for 15 years. Like, multiply that by 30.
Are
5.
you salivating yet?
I'm so glad I'm in this. I'm so glad my money's in this thing, and it's locked up. Like, my average stake length is 14.79 years, and I made some mistakes. My first stake was 10 years. Oops, didn't understand. And then I thought it was cool to
I'm
front run
sorry
a
for
bunch
your
of stakes
loss.
coming out. Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, but I learned from my mistakes, and I will continue to learn from my mistakes. So
Your average
yeah,
is
my
so
fine.
high. I'm jealous of your average.
Well, it's only 14.79 because I couldn't stake it for 30 years. I mean, those stakes are going to be rolled over again. So really, my average is more like, 29.89 probably. If you
Don't quote me
understand,
on
they
this,
will be
but I
rolled
don't
over.
think Staker's like calculating my average correct. I think I'm weird since I have so many wallets, and like I think it's doing like an average of the wallets instead of a weighted average. But again, like what's that really doing? that's benefiting me because it's telling me like, oh, your average is only 9 years, and then I'm like, oh, I need to get
Yeah,
my
it's lower than it
average
really
up.
is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's way higher than that. Way higher. Because I
Yeah.
don't even load all my addresses into Staker, and I'll tell you why I'm so weird is because like I know at some point like I'm gonna get priced out of making like really big moves, and so like my plan is to just like add one address like every once in a while to like boost up my character so I can stay in my position in the ranking system for when I like run out. But like for now, it's just like, I'm accumulating all these like side wallets that I'm not keeping track of. So I don't know how much hex I have. So I can like keep focusing on what's important, which is accumulating hex
Yeah, that's actually really
shares,
smart.
layer one T
Yeah, tell you.
shares.
Yeah, trick yourself into thinking you're in a worse position than you really that
Yeah.
you're at least not in as good a position. Yeah, because some people are
Yes.
going to say, "Man, I've got so much hex, I don't ever need to buy more." But there are those guys
Yeah.
who were already rich, who had bought coins that flash crashed to a penny, and if they had just put 20 more dollars in, they would be multiples of X richer than they are. It's
Yeah.
like so.
And it's
I, I,
like,
I, I, I don't want to be the guy who didn't put an extra few $100 into the thing when I could have, because I've already done that and I learned from that mistake. I could have put more thousands of dollars into this thing on day two, and I didn't. So,
can
all
you
right.
can you hold on a second? I'm getting a call from the Federal Reserve. Oh, yeah. Okay. What's that? Ben Bernanke and Janet Yellen and Alan Greenspan and all you evil people. Oh, you're selling money printers. Oh, they're 8/10 of a penny. Oh no, I won't tell anyone. All right, thanks. Yeah, yeah, you too. All right, all right, all right, fine. All right, bye. Sorry about that. I guess I forgot to turn off my mic and my camera. Um, don't tell anyone.
Well,
Bitfinesse,
if you're
don't
lucky
tell
enough,
anyone.
look, all I can
We
say, Matt, is if you're lucky enough to get one of those money printers and you ever sell one because you're bored of it,
my my
man, I'll
problem
chastise you forever.
is like, you can lease this thing for 8/10 of a penny. Well, it's really what's a 15-year T-share right now? So if it's like $150 for a whatever, like a 1-year T-share, then it's like what? It's going to be a third of that. So what? It's going to be $50 for a 15-year T-share right now. Does that sound about right? Um
Yeah.
okay, so for $50 you can get a money printer, and or you could lease a money printer for $50 and you get it for 15 years, or you could pay $150 and you could lease it for 1 year. Which one do you want?
I want the money printer for as long as I can have it.
Okay. Okay. And you want the discount to pay a third of the price
Yeah.
and to get it for 15 times longer?
Yep. Yeah, I want the money printer for as long as I can have it, and even if I have to pay more for it, I will. But yeah, I'll pay a third.
But you're in fact being asked to pay less, or we could do a deal where we triple the amount of money printers that you're leasing for 15x the number of years.
Right. Yeah.
Like because we're trying to get
Yeah.
rid of these things. We're tired of having money printers just lying around. They're taking up
Yeah.
space.
If you have money printers just lying around, eventually you're up to you're swimming in the thing that it prints, and that's got to be just super
Well,
annoying.
yeah.
It's like a Donald Duck situation. Maybe it's cool to swim in your coins, but where do you put the couch? There's real problems here.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. You know,
We're
the
yeah.
burden of getting filthy rich. It's not for everybody.
Where do you put the bread
It's not.
maker?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. These things can always live on the roof, as far as I'm concerned. You know, I mean, where can you not buy bread? So I just, yeah, but
I
people are
mean, it's
gonna
like,
sell their money printers. I don't, I don't know. I mean, I can't. I don't know. I mean, look, I don't know. I mean, people do stuff all the time where I'm like, oh boy, oh man, and I don't know. I don't know. All I can do is not do those things, and but for the people who are going to do them, they're going to do them. Hopefully, they learn and don't do them again or do better. But I don't know. And some people have to do it again and again and again and again. Like, how many people lost money trading and they're still trading, and it's gonna happen again. Um,
so,
this is pathological stuff.
so with my, let's say I got duped into creating a staking ladder. Okay. And, because I was thinking of a place from a place of scarcity rather than a place of abundance. I got my numerator and denominator flipped around, and I told myself like, well, all these assholes at the Fed, they're trying to get me to hold on to their money printer, for 15 years. No, I'd rather hold on to it for some of these for a year, some of them for 2 years, some for three, on and on, right? And so let's say I have a stake coming out, let's just say in a year or so from now. It's pretty big payday. So what did we know? What did we really know on day 4 or day 200 or day 400 or whatever? So I got this coming out. Now, is it true that if I take that 1 year stake and I restake all of it for the maximum duration, do I know that I'll get more T-shares than I had already?
Not necessarily. What if the price ratcheted up in that year so high that even staking for 15 more years doesn't make up for it?
Well, I think it will because remember, I'm getting
So far,
whatever APY. I'm getting 30% APY or 40%, and the price of a T-share has gone up what, like 70% or something from the actual beginning. But that's not when I created the stake, right? Because if I created the stake at the beginning, I don't know what I'd be getting, but it'd be some amount, right? And so, but I think it doesn't the system promise that if you stake, the only way to get less T-shares is, well, no. The only way to get more is to stake longer. You don't get the same amount if you restake, right? But how much less
right.
do you get, or how much longer do you have to stake? I guess it depends when you started in the system.
Depends when you started. Depends how much the T-share price has moved. Depends on how much longer you're staking for.
I kind of want to see kind of an example. I know you don't have any 1 year stakes we can look at.
You know, I don't want to sound like a snob, but it never occurred to me to stake for 1 year. Not to be, rude or whatever.
When
I
did you
just
start watching like shows? Before or after you staked? Obviously
for
after, right?
yeah, after. But the first time I really saw that there were people streaming was during the 24-hour extravaganza before
Nice.
Thanksgiving. That's when I was like, wow, there's a lot of people streaming. Um, yeah, by that time I had made two. I'd made the 10-year, 4 15s, a 10, and two more 15s, something like that. Yeah, it never occurred to me to stake a year. It does occur to me to do a staking ladder different than anyone I've seen or heard talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people suggest doing your longest stake first, and then like doing a 14-year stake, and then a 13-year, and then a 12, and working your way down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the idea of staking for as long as you can, do a bunch of longest stakes. So when I say do a bunch of longest stakes, I mean that you're going to stake one day, and then maybe next month you also stake, or so you're not staking every day, right? You're taking mass, staking it really long, and then maybe saving up more mass and then staking long again. So, maybe a year's worth of 15-year stakes, or some, you know, amount of 15-year stakes to get yourself in the league that you want to be in. And then from there, if you want flexibility, which I haven't decided that I want, from there, you could do your shortest stake, like say a 5-year stake. And maybe you're going to save up your economic mass and only stake twice a year, say once in January and once in July. So every January, let's say, you're making a Quattro Cinco stake. And then every July, you make your short stake. So let's look at the July stakes. Like the first year, you could do a 5-year stake. The next year, you can do a 6-year stake. The next July, you can do a 7-year stake. And those stakes will actually be separated by 2 years because you're moving a year into the future and you're staking for an extra longer year. So you work that stake up. You get real top heavy, and then you work from the bottom up. This way, as you move forward in time, when you get to that first 5-year stake that comes due, it will have soaked for 5 full years. If you start at the top and work your way down the staking ladder, eventually you're going to run into a situation where your shortest stake is only has like a year of soak time. So you do your top heavy stakes, and then you go shortest and then work your way up. When you get to that 5-year stake, if you don't need the money, then you can cast it out for Quattro Cinco. And you'll know, if you've been doing this thing over the years, in another 2 years, not only will you have another stake coming out, but it will have 6 years of soak time. Don't need the money? Throw it out 15 years. In 2 years, you'll have a 7-year stake come due. The problem is that you have to eventually bite the bullet and stake for 5 years. I haven't done it yet. I don't know if I can do it. I should do it. Give yourself some flexibility, but it just feels, just knowing that I get 2x extra T shares staking for 15.2 years, and you don't get that when you make a 5-year stake. Now, if you can bite the bullet and do a 5-year stake, the next year that you're ready to make your shortest stake, you can make a 6-year stake, and then your pain of the T shares you're robbing yourself of will be relieved over time as you work that staking ladder back up. But maybe it's fully counteracted by the fact that every January you'll make a 5-5-5-5 stake. You're definitely sacrificing T shares.
Yeah, you can tell how forward thinking you are, because you're already thinking, if I stake, if I do all my stakes now, 15 years in the future, then at year 16, 17, and 18, I've got stakes coming out all the time that I'm going to have to decide what to do with, right? And so that's the second, not layer, but that's the second segment of your staking lifetime, right? And so
it's like the
right now
you can't make a 15
right now you can't make an 18-year stake, but in another year or two, then you're gonna have some 15-year stakes that you started in year two now that are going to be coming out and needing something to do. And so I just ran. So did you? So I think, did I understand what you were saying there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Um,
I I've got the
if
numbers
yeah,
from what
yeah,
I
if
was. Go ahead.
yeah, if you're only doing 15-year stakes, then yeah, eventually you'll have. The big problem I have is that I don't want to be undoing a stake every month. Like one stake a year is fine. That's more. It's more than enough. But the
But
reason I
then
wrote
you're
that
gonna
staking
have to
ladder
only stake
is,
once a year.
and that's where you have to have like very precise risk management. So for the it for the coins that I
Interesting.
hold, like so right now I have no coins liquid, right? It's really hard for me to hold coins liquid because I'll get a certain amount of them, and I'm like, oh, I gotta stake these, right? Um,
Yes.
T share price is going up, but it's not going up so fast that you're gonna destroy yourself by holding your coins liquid for 6 months. Now in March, there's a lot of stakes coming out, so I don't want to be holding liquid coins through the middle or the end of March.
Well,
So
that's
probably
why we
next
that's
month
why
I'll
we
start doing
need
it.
that's why we need a chart that'll show us what the minimum T-share price is going to be into the future, so we can make decisions like that are going to be the best for us. Because if you go 6 months into the past, it was 30% cheaper to get a T-share, right? And that's a force multiplier. So in 10 years from now, if the price is 1000x, then that little 30%, that's going to be what, 300% of what you were dealing with, I
Yeah,
think. And so
a chart
so
could
it's
be
really,
very
yeah,
useful there.
very useful. Now I've got kind of like a guess as to what I was saying about, is there a way to think about this in terms of, just if I don't think in USD, um, and I just look at my T shares, I know we're going to get better and better at estimating and knowing this kind of stuff, but I'm just looking at a stake that I made, let's say allegedly about a year ago, and there's about a year left on it, right? And um, allegedly there's something like 20 T shares sitting there, and with the Genesis payday, also known as the big payday, um, that was nice. I got a little bump there. But this is paying 27% interest, right? Because it's coming out basically in a year from now, which is 2 years in, and it looks like if I took the hex that it currently has, um, and I could buy in at today's prices, which is about, let's just say 6,000 hex for a 15-year T share for one, then I could buy about 40. So it's like my 2 year lock got me 20 T shares. And even if I could buy in today, which we know the price is going to go higher, right? And so how high has the T-share price gone in the past year? Well, it hasn't quite doubled, but it's getting close, right? It's up 70%. So if we just say it's going to double, I mean, even with the Genesis payday, I'm probably going to only be able to get about the same amount of T-shares going from a 2 year stake to a 15-year stake. So that should tell you something, just roughly,
And yeah, and
about what we're dealing
that
with
that
here.
is that is what that's the kind of thing I think about and why I haven't yet made a 5-year stake. I want to make a 5-year stake. The reason I want to make a 5-year stake is because I think I'm doing something a little different with my money than most people are doing. So I work a lot, 18
Yes.
hour days, 22-hour days sometimes 30-hour days. I keep enough dollars in a few different accounts to live, pay my bills. I don't keep a lot in there. I want all of my money to grow. So I'm working and taking my money and staking it. That's why maybe it'd be good to have flexibility because I'm putting so much of my money in there. I'd rather do that than, stake everything for 15 years and have money that I'm not using sitting in the bank. Like I want as little money sitting in the bank as possible. So that brings up the point of flexibility. But making a 5-year stake, it's going to feel devastating versus having made a 15-year stake. It's just that 10 extra years that you in holding those shares, those extra shares now for those extra 5 years, that's going to have a really big impact. And I'm not sure if that impact is outweighed or even balanced by, I mean, it's got to still be better than holding dollars in your bank that you don't need, so that you don't need your money in 5 years. It's got to be better
Yeah.
than that.
What we know is in 5 years, the purchasing power of your dollars is probably going to be cut in half. Usually it takes 10 years to get there, but with the numbers you were throwing out earlier in the stream, I wouldn't be surprised if 5 years from now, especially now, like now with so many trillions of dollars getting pumped out, the money supply's doubled. So I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years the dollars have half the purchasing power, right? And the reason I like your 10-year plus stakes is because that still gives you 5 years and then you can screw it up, right? Like you can end your stakes after 5 years if they're 10-year stakes and you can run away with the money, right? Not that you would, but that's what I'm saying is like, okay.
I see Hexologist click the unstake button and then let MetaMask pop up to see what the fees are. I'm like, man, the thought of pressing that button on my laptop, Hexo's got guts doing that, pressing that button. Yeah, I know he's just seeing how much it would cost to end a stake, but I don't know. It's like when I get pulled over by the cops, I put my empty hands out the window. Maybe the cop had a bad day. I don't know that guy. Like, pressing the red button, just pressing it. Not for me.
Okay. Well, but why would you make a 5-year stake?
Well, the only reason I can think of to do it at all is for flexibility. If you're putting like all of your money in,
it's flexible if you hit the red button after 5 years on a 10-year stake. You're more flexible if you have the opportunity to keep that money printer for an extra 5 years. Am I wrong? At the end of 5 years, you have to end. On a 5-year stake, at the end of 5 years on a 10-year stake, you still choose how long you keep the money printer. It's not due back to the library yet.
But if a 5-year stake ends, and it was only a 5-year stake, you'll get all of the interest and the rewards and the emergency end stake penalties that other people gave you. Thanks, guys. If you end a 10-year stake after 5 years, you're only getting the principal back.
Okay, but you're missing those extra 5 years of all that stuff even more appreciated at that point. So I think you have less flexibility if you're doing a 5-year than a 10-year. Still, because you don't have the flexibility to collect those extra 5 years of all that stuff.
Yeah. But
tell me if I'm wrong.
Do anything with that money if you're not going to do anything with that money after a 5-year stake, then you throw it out for 15 years, just 20 years from now, and you'll have another stake coming due in 2 years. You can restake that. I just I can't see where ending a longer stake short is the way to go over even creating a shorter stake, unless it's like a 1 year stake. There's no reason for me to do a 1 year stake. So but 5 years is still pretty short.
I mean,
so
yeah,
it's pretty short, but at least your money can grow for those 5 years as opposed to holding cash. Or, I mean, if you need your money, you need your money. Because I'm putting
the price
all my money in there.
appreciation in USD is expected to be so much higher than the price appreciation of staking longer. So it makes sense to stake longer because like at best, what you're going to get. Well, but that's another thing we should chart. We should chart how much you're expected to get now that we know how the system is operating. Because you're getting 3x, right? The shares, which is a share of the future compound interest when you're staking the maximum length, right? And then that tells you how much APY you're getting because it's a function of that. So I think the maximum you can get from staking longer is 3x. So like the maximum you can get from staking shorter is 1/3, right? And so, but if there's price appreciation, I think you're more flexible with the longer stake. It sounds weird. It sounds weird to say that, but because you're
halfway through.
Yeah.
So wait. So let me just steelman your argument here, right?
Do it.
So you're saying that it is likely a better deal for the staker to stake 10 years with the option to end it after 5 rather than just making a 5-year stake. Your return
if you don't need the money in between 2.5 years and 5 years. Hey, what's up, Mitchell? Thank you so much for the huge donation. Wow. That's one T-share. Wow. That's awesome. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And it's not a T-share because I know you don't tip Hex and you hold all your Hex. You don't give it away to anybody. And Mitchell was talking to us on the Twitter Spaces last night for hours. An awesome community member. Here you said, do what makes you happy. Once Hex is at $100 a unit after 3 years, it won't matter how long you go out. But you should definitely have some Quattro Cincos. Awesome. Very good. Make sure you guys follow Mitchell if you're not already, because he makes some really cool short videos and he's got a lot of flair and a cool personality. And Hex.
Yeah, so in that staking ladder, I envisioned like someone, me, or whoever really wants to get into this thing, just take a couple of years at least and just make it, 15.2-year stakes, just real top heavy, real super top heavy, and then to keep making them every 6 months. And if you're going to do any other time frame staking, it just seems like a better deal to start shorter and working longer than just working your way down the ladder toward the short term, because as you move forward in time, that eventually, it's better to stake now. If you know you need a stake coming out in 5 years or 10 years, it's better to make that stake now so you have the extra soak time. So
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. The one thing you
But
can't do is get a better deal on a money printer in the future, right? On
you
one of
can't go
these
back.
leases. It's that's the flexibility that I'm talking about, I guess the most. And it does, somebody said I'm not 100% right, I'm not 100% wrong or whatever. And yeah, I agree with that like I guess just the way I'm presenting it is if
Your
you don't
T-shares max out after 10 years is what you're saying. And having three
well,
times the T-shares, even if that is kind
I
of,
just use that
well,
because that's your minimum. I mean, there's way more value doing a 15-year than a 10-year. Like
yeah,
way greater as the Germans presented it in the first Hex conference, because how long do you want to lease
you hold
that
the money
money
printer.
printer?
Yeah. Regardless of the deal you got on it, it's going to be better if you know that you're not going to get the same awesome deal in the future. It's going to be less of a good deal.
Yeah.
Versus
Because
the time, it's better to hold that deal for the extra 5 years.
Because every day they come out with a new model of money printer that you can lease, and it spits out the money a little bit slower than the one you got today, right? And so all the new models every day when you get your T-share, it's just it's spitting out a little bit less, or it's costing you a little bit more depending on how you want to slice it.
Yeah, so for a 10-year stake, you still get 3 times the T-share. So if you end that stake at the 5-year point.
He said we need money to buy all these legislators. Okay. Like, excellent point. I concede my
legitimate use for the flexibility of your money. You don't want to be saving up dollars to buy your legislatures.
That's right.
Your dollar is going to keep getting cut in half long before you get there. But so ending a 10-year stake after the 5-year mark, we understand that you get your principal back. You lose your rewards, you lose your interest. So, I mean, you also lose everything that those extra T-shares gained, right? Ending a 10-year at the 5-year.
You're up 100x, but you have the option. If you can go half the time, then you've really done something either way, because you leave yourself the option to keep going 50 to 100% of the way there, which you can never get that opportunity back. And your USD has appreciated 100x. So it really doesn't, so that little extra 3x that, you could be doing.
So you're saying if once you do it, maybe you'll not end stake it at 5 years and let it go the full length. You can't go back and make that 5-year stake into a 10-year stake. But if you were going to end it at the 5-year mark, if you're going to, if you do end a 10-year stake at the 5-year mark, I don't think you're better off than if you just ended a 5-year stake at the 5-year mark, because you lose all the everything that those extra T-shares have made, right? Like, you really just get your principal back if you really end a 10-year at the 5-year mark. So if you are gonna end stake in 5 years, a 5-year stake will do you better than a 10-year stake ended at 5 years.
And there could be a line with this information, and you see where it crosses over, and you say, oh, at 7 years, then, ending and getting my principal back plus my 10% interest, which is not linear.
Than holding a 5 and ending it at 5.
Yeah. It's not linear, by the way. So if you end a week early, you only get 80% on a 10-year or something. There's some weird like sharp roll off to really make sure that longer pays better and that it pays significantly better.
Yeah, and those shorter stakes, like if I ever do a 5-year stake, it's just for insurance. Maybe I need some money that's not in my checking account because I don't keep a lot in there. I really don't. I try to keep that to a minimum. Excuse me. It's just not. It's not.
Well,
it's not safe in there. But you got to keep some in there. I mean, you do have to, live your life in USD, so you got to keep some. But I really try to minimize that. So that
oh yeah,
it's just going to be so painful to do a 5-year stake, knowing that I could have done a 15.
So there's a good question here in the chat. Why wouldn't you just hold liquid if you emergency end stake a 10-year at 5 years? The reason is because you have a whole 5 years where the price can 10,000x and you can't sell. Otherwise, you're going to lose all your principal. So it's actually giving you strong hands to not hold liquid and to end at 51% of the length. And you always check the stake graph so you don't get nuked, because you could be off by a day or a week or something and get nuked, right? So we always have to put that caveat in. But like that is the benefit, because it seems like what you're thinking is, like if I just get my principal back, I could have held the I could have held liquid and I'd be in the same exact spot. But that's not what we see. If you look at how things really played out with Bitcoin, people sold it $1,000 when they bought it at a penny, and they did not get to ride all the way up to 50,000.
Yeah. Now for me, holding liquid, like I said, right now I keep staking it. So in 15 years, I'm going to have a very busy time ending stakes, which is fine. But for me, the biggest risk in holding liquid is, wanting to play around with my hex and using other layers. So for me, my mentality is just, if I am holding liquid hex, I have to be super careful. And if I feel like I need to do something in crypto, the thing I'm going to do is to take those liquid hex and stake them. Like, it might be my plan to hold liquid hex for 6 months. To minimize how many stakes I have to end, in the future. But, so far I've not been able to stick to holding coins liquid for 6 months. Every, few weeks I stake them, and I've been doing that, and I'm fine with that. If I get the need to play with crypto, it's going to be to stake my coins, and then, I go do something else that's not crypto related. But I think that's a huge risk, is if you are holding coins liquid, you could sell them, the price could pump super crazy and you could sell them. I know that's a mistake. I think that's a low risk for me, because it's something I think about every day. The poor bastards who sold at 1,000. It's it sucks, man. People, it really sucks.
And we know that they didn't sell for Hex, because Hex wasn't available when Bitcoin was $1,000. Now, the poor bastards who sold at 5,000 and sold for Hex, and now they're living large and laughing easy. We don't feel so bad for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I sold my Bitcoin, put it in Hex, and I'm glad the bridge held as I sprinted across it. I did sprint. I broke a sweat using the Ren bridge. I tweeted about it.
You put it in segments, right?
Yeah, I was very antsy. My heart was. I was like, oh shit, like let's go. And it was 45 minutes of pain, but I got through on the other side, and now it's locked up in Hex. It's legitimately safe.
One of my strategies, like I used to, wait to make a stake, and then but what I found is it's really effective for me to make a stake whenever I get fired up by the community. I've put money into Hex recently as I continue to dollar cost average into Hex, from the it's supposed to be diminishing amounts of other crypto that I hold. You know, I'm 70 or 80% in hex, and I've got my other, you know, coins that I'm trying to get out of, but like they keep going up. So it's like, you know, I'm dollar cost averaging, and I'm still getting more hex, but it's like I've still got like only 75% hex. And so I'm doing that, and like I find that it's really convenient and exciting to do it whenever, you know, I'm listening to a quant gang stream, or last night when I was on with you guys. You know, it's kind of, there's lots of ways to do it. You know, you don't want to be distracted when you're doing something to where you'd slip up, but I find value kind of in the excitement, and then I don't have to second guess myself or think about it too much, or wait for myself to like make them, you know, to like slip up and think I've got enough hex or something.
Well, you know, I'm not in crypto, right? I, so it's easier for me to realize where I am and what my goals are, like what I'm actually trying to do. For people who are actually in crypto, um, I think it's hard for them to remember and refocus on what they're trying to do with their money. You know, I think they're trying to do the same thing I'm doing. Just grow your money, keep it safe from middlemen, keep it safe from banks, keep it safe from governments, keep it safe from parties that you trusted, unfortunately, contracts that weren't audited or contracts that weren't audited properly. And I just want it locked up. I want it locked up, and I want to get a return on it over a long period of time. I remind myself every day what I'm doing, and I don't lose that focus, because once you get
That's
into
awesome.
crypto, there's all these beautiful colors, there's cool, there's just so much cool stuff, and it is really, really cool. It's also really, really complicated, and if you're not really taking an immense amount of time and researching these things, it's just so easy to go from I'm doing the most responsible thing with my money for my future to now I have no money, and it just happens
Yeah.
so fast. So I keep that focus number one. I'm, you know, good price, bad price, better price, T-share price. Get it in there, lock it up. Uh, you know, yeah. Sometimes I wait for, you know, I wait. I'm like maybe, you know, but I try to just every time I'm doing something in crypto, I remind myself, get that money out of the bank, get it through the middleman, get it locked up where it's safe. That is the goal.
Well, and I find a lot of times that like all I'm going to say is that I'm very suspicious of everything else in crypto actually being controlled by middlemen. Like there's rumors that like QuickSwap is actually controlled by Binance and Coinbase. Like same thing with Uniswap and like everything. So like you think that you're getting
Yep.
away from the old system, but then like, oh, I just wanted to buy some uni tokens on the side because like, you know, it's a pretty unicorn. And oh, I just wanted to play with layer 2 because like everybody's talking about it. But it's like, no, be focused like Bitfinesse.
The focus is boring, but there are other things I do that the only reason I do them is because it's boring. You know, like you ever stare at a wall for 3 hours? It's actually a useful thing. It is so boring. Like, I think that's kind of what meditation is. Just be
Hmm.
bored and sit with it, and know that it's okay to be bored. You don't have to fill every waking moment with things that feel productive, because very little of it
This
is
is
actually
good.
productive.
What you're talking about is raising your boredom tolerance. I'm gonna make a note of that because I think it makes sense for the community to do like exercises on that.
I mean, wasn't it, maybe it was Nietzsche? I don't know who said it, but someone said, the rod shall teach you. And, you know, the question is, do you want to use your rod, or do you want other people to use their rod on you? Because
I
like
want to use
the
my own
pain
rod.
you inflict on your, I want to use my own rod. the pain you can inflict on yourself is nothing compared to what the world, especially the financial world, can do to you. It can just literally just watch you burn all the way. And, it'll smile while you're on fire. So if I need to be okay with being bored, like there are exercises and activities you can do that are just ridiculously boring. And you'll realize that you don't die after you come through this boredom, and you can tolerate more boredom later. Like, do burpees for 4 hours. Oh, so boring. So boring. Um, I think it's so required because the hardest thing to do in all of finance is to do nothing. It's so hard. Hitting the red and green buttons are so fun. Like, they look like candy, you know, like they look like peanut butter Reese's during Christmas. It's like it's fun. Um, Getting into once you're in the right thing, the thing that's actually safe, that's going to print you money, doing nothing is really hard. That has to be trained. It has to be practiced. Should be a major goal because it is the thing that's going to make you rich. Doing nothing is actually the thing required to make you rich. You have to do something,
Facts.
not even much of a thing. You have to research, do a lot of research, years of research, and then you have to hit one of those buttons, and then you have to do nothing for a long time. And that is actually what makes you rich. It's the doing nothing that is required. It's like you're breaking your body down from the run. It's the recovery from the run that actually makes you stronger. You need the run. That's the fun thing. You need to do the physical thing. But you need that time of rest of doing nothing. And that's actually the beneficial thing.
Totally agree. And like, if you have to do something and you're not ready to cut off your arms and legs so you can't hit that emergency end stake button, go ahead and hit the like button now. Hit the subscribe, hit the bell notification. Look at the description below to find the link to be able to follow Bitfinesse on Twitter. And I know we've got about another 10 or 15 minutes here before Wales goes on. And we got Hexo going on. And, here in about 25 minutes or 20 minutes. And then everybody remember that we have a special psychology gang meeting tonight after Hexo. And we're going to have the 4 psychology professionals of Hex, right? Nerd Girl, who's in social psychology, the Joker, who's in military psychology, and Blaze, who is in clinical psychology, like myself. So it's gonna get weird.
Tune in and
it's gonna get weird.
Tune in
after
to
Hexo.
prove to yourself that. Look, guys, tune in to prove to yourself that the psychologists are the craziest ones out of all of us.
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
is that why psychologists become psychologists? Because they're the ones that need the mental help the most. Is that a thing?
So they call it me search instead of research when you're trying to find out what's wrong with you. So you're studying other people. It's also called projection. And it applies to some more than others, let's just say. And but they kind of screen you, right? Like when you go to one of these like PhD programs, they ask you like, why do you want to be in psychology? And if your answer is like, because I'm crazy and I want to learn why, like, sorry, you're not getting picked for the program. So
some psychologists certainly have said that and gotten through the program anyway, though.
Probably,
certainly
yeah.
It's happened, right? Probably.
Yeah.
Everybody slips through the cracks.
But there's a lot of good stuff that they teach you, and if you practice what you preach, like I do, I'd say at least about 20% of people in psychology practice what they preach, and that it's hard to go wrong when you spend all day figuring out what works for other people, and all types of people and all types of problems, and then you get the benefit yourself of following your own advice that So it's a pretty sweet gig. Even if you're like me and you work, with people who are only extremely low income, and you know, you get paid less to do more, it's still very fulfilling because then you get the joy of helping others and really seeing people like go from a super super bad place to a pretty good place in life. So very very cool to be in psychology. And it was weird the other day because I was like, I like had to talk to my boss who I don't have to like. This is part of the reason I like my job is because like I don't have to ever talk to my boss. They just let me operate like my own little like
Yeah.
My own caseload basically. And but I talked to my boss, and so like I was reminded of how I don't have to talk to my boss because I was choosing to talk to my boss. And then I was thinking about the Middlemen episode that was coming up. Like I didn't say anything, but I was thinking to myself, I was like, my boss is a middleman. I never thought about that before. And but she's really awesome. So I
You have
I
to use
appreciate
them
working at a
wisely.
place. Yeah,
As long as you manage risk and you use them wisely, you can be better off. Like my cousin's my boss. People say, "Hey, why don't you own your own truck?" It's like, nope. I'm actually better off doing what I'm doing now because
for sure.
since my cousin's my boss, I can do things that other people can't, and I can work a lot more, get a lot more done. And my cousin basically handles all my paperwork. So I would be able to do less if I had to do all the licensing, the IFTA, all the paperwork,
For sure.
regulatory nonsense, and I would be able to make less money. Now my cousin does it all, so really, who's working for who? You have to leverage the power of the
Very
middlemen
true.
against them, manage risk, protect yourself, and you can have a really good time. Many accounts, many exchanges, they hopefully don't all suck at once. Manage risk.
That's gonna be one of your quotes. I feel like, and working for your cousin too. I know you like that because then you can get approved time off to go kick Brian Armstrong's ass.
The time has been approved. Brian Armstrong, let's handle this like gentlemen. The outcome being whatever the outcome is. Your parameters for the gentlemanly contest. I think it'll be good for everybody. I know you probably want to give it to one of your customers. I'd love to give it to you. So let's make it happen.
And we've already got people buying tickets. Mitchell bought a ticket not too long ago. He bought 10 to the Bitfinesse. I don't know. I don't know wrestling terms. To the Bitfinesse show, the match, the cage match.
The winner of the contest could donate, the proceeds of the event to a charity of their choice. Um, if I'm able to engage in hand-to-hand combat with Mr. Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, I would take those proceeds and create a new foundation called Middlemanless, Ending Middlemanless World, Life Without Middlemen. Like there ought to be a foundation that just deletes middlemen. Oh, you're doing a thing that actually doesn't provide value to any party. You're actually just rent seeking. Delete.
I like
Why
Hex
not?
Fight Club. Let's go with that.
That'd be great. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, I'll donate my proceeds to Hex Fight Club. Yeah, a lot of us are fighting hard recently, so
And the Hex
yeah,
Museum will
yeah,
take
we'll do that.
the teeth of Brian Armstrong displayed in a trophy. It sounds
Yeah,
like an
just like the
episode of
funds you give to
Breaking Bad. I
Coinbase.
saw.
Like, yeah, yeah, we'll deposit those teeth and not dispense them to where they should go. Yeah, we'll hang on to them. Yeah, you
We'll
hang on to
turn them
our
into an
funds, we'll hang on
NFT.
to your teeth.
Yeah, fractionalized
Yeah,
teeth of Brian Armstrong, decentralized for the world.
Serial number 0001.
That's right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Legendary. Yes. Pokemon. You love
A lot of good
Pokemon?
folks in chat.
Yeah, the chat's been
Pokemon's
cracking
cool,
me up.
especially.
um so Blaze has some pretty cool music. I'm gonna ask her about it tonight, but she's got like music videos and stuff. Like real ones. It's pretty cool.
Is she Hmm, that is pretty cool. Um, is she a good candidate for, say TikTok and these types of outlets?
I struggle with like the idea of TikTok because
Tell
it
me about it.
it like stops your phone from being secure, and so it's like some people, some people are going to have a wallet of hex on their phone, and we know that TikTok isn't secure. We know that what was it? I forgot what I was doing. I was doing some weird thing with my Apple account, going to places that nobody's ever gone before in the settings, basically. And I found TikTok was hanging out there after I downloaded it and uninstalled it after like a day, like a year ago or something. It was just hanging out, like monitoring me. Crazy, crazy stuff. So
It's stuff like that. Like I won't even use Instagram. Won't do it.
proof of teeth. Yeah, Instagram's bad for your like operational security. Because like if you create multiple accounts, it won't keep them separate. It'll recommend you on like your personal one to your public one. That's bad.
That is bad. Yeah.
Both amazing people. Stop insulting people in chat.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
think we
NFT
insulted.
really stands for
No front
we
teeth.
insult.
I don't think
No
we.
new front teeth.
Yeah. I don't think he was talking to us. Maybe he was. Well, we liked his idea. Hex Fight Club. Yeah. Let's see. Constantly scared that I have a mobile MetaMask with your life savings. It's okay. It's not gonna be a problem, I don't think. But like again, TikTok, I don't know. What's up, Cabana? I love your streams. I tune in now. As soon as I get off work, I always miss the first half an hour, and then I have to like go rewatch. You were on it. You were on a stream, weren't you, this week?
Yep. Yesterday. It
That
was
was a
great.
really good one. Was
Totally.
that just yesterday?
Yeah.
No way.
It was just yesterday.
It's because we
I'm
talked
so
about
far
Hex for
behind.
5 hours last night. That's why I like.
There's no chance. You guys, look, if anyone is still keeping up with all the Hex content, come forward. Who are you? I mean, even 2x, 3x.
I'm trying.
There's no chance.
I am. I'm trying. I've got, yeah. It's not good. It's not good for your health to like.
Yeah. Don't stress. You will fail at this endeavor, and that's okay. Do the best you can. Don't stress about it. It's, Maddie can't keep up. I can't keep up. A lot of people publicly said, to all you people who publicly said you failed at keeping up with all the Hex content, you've got my respect. Good job. Way to be honest. Thank you. I felt like a real freaking scumbag. I think I was the first person to come out and say, I can't.
Yes.
I can't keep up.
Well, I remember a famous quote from you, and you said, it may not be too late to buy into Hex, but it is too late to be able to watch all the Hex content that's been created.
Yeah, at the time I said that, that was when I really saw the light. It's like, man, anybody getting in now or later, there's no, you're toast. There's no chance in trying. I mean, you should watch as much hex content as you can, but you will never catch up.
And that's okay. And we hope to like continue to create content that is teaching you new things, help you to keep your hands strong, right? During times of weakness. Like there were so many times when I was following somebody in Bitcoin, and it made a difference for them to say like, don't sell, it's okay, like it's just a dip, like buy the dip or just hold, right? And so I think that's kind of valuable. But that is what the community is doing, is like coming up with better ways of explaining things, but also discovering new things, and reinforcing the things that are the most important. I really think it's worth it to watch some hex content going forward.
Massively worth it, especially your channel. I mean, the stuff you've been putting out
Thank
recently
you.
has been just literally groundbreaking. And I remember I commented this on one of your videos. It's been some time ago, but it was like, Maddie, what are you doing? What are you doing? Because it was just the people you have on there and the things they say are truly baffling. It's immense content. Nice job, Maddie.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I'm just one guy, and I owe it to the community for inspiring me, for teaching me, for giving me a space, right? And that's the thing about being in a community that operates from a place of abundance rather than a place of scarcity, and a group of people who don't seem to fall into the tragedy of the commons as much as other people, right? You know, the day you see me shilling at Bybit link is the day I'm going to cancel myself. So,
Right.
and I don't mind being in a cult either.
People still. Well, the cult is just being in a cult. Like cults are just one, just a number of people away from being a religion. Like it is defined by followers and participants. So religions have that thing where they're immune from certain collections of things that you may or may not like being collected. So maybe we're headed in the right definitely headed in the right direction. Also, it's been it's been really nice to the community. It's been really nice to see so many people talk openly and publicly and honestly and really consider the things that are being built on Hex with real in-depth thought, exposing themselves and being vulnerable, that they might not know everything. The honesty that we have in Hex and the integrity that we have within our community is something I very genuinely treasure, because I can't get that anywhere else. So thanks to all of you.
Absolutely.
You're making the world a better place.
Well, thank you, Bitfinesse, for being on the program, and I'm pleased to announce that we have the hexologist who's hosting us now, and so you can head over to his page at twitch.tv/thehexologist. And I would challenge you to listen to the hexologist, donate to him, and listen to Whales Only with El Hexidente and Access Live at the same time. And then you'll be like me. Haven't quite mastered listening to 3 live streams at the same time, but I can handle 2. Right? And support the other members of the community. I really appreciate all the other streamers and everything that they've done for me and for us. And again, Bitfinesse, I'm not sure how often I say it, but I think it more than I say it, that you're one of my favorite people in Hex. And so I'm
Likewise.
looking forward to being in it, for many Cuatro Cincos to come with you. So
Thank you. Likewise. Eat your bananas, manage risk, and tell Brian I'm coming for him.
Yes. And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night.